All right, so we're still looking at kind of class pictures, but more of a senior portrait sort of image for the last four of these images. So this first image is by Kassandra. You're at ISO 200, 34 millimeters, so a little on the wide angle side. And I'll post an image that I want you to look at. Actually, I have this image right here. Let's see if I can open it up. Yeah. So I'll post this image for you, and I want you to go ahead and take a look at this and see just how the different focal lengths change the way a person's face looks. So I know I'm constantly saying, like, you should be shooting with a 50 or longer lens. And this kind of shows you why. Even if you're further away, it's going to be more pleasing to have a longer lens than a wider lens. So I would encourage you to shoot this with a little bit of a longer lens. You're at f4.5, which is a good choice, and 1/200th of a second gives you plenty of leeway with your subject moving or anything. It looks like it's really bright outside. We can see the background is probably pretty blown out. If we were to come over here, yeah, you can see the areas that are blown out. So we know that we have areas that are blown out in the background, but the light on your subject, except for that little bit on his hair, is really it's softer light than what we're seeing in the background, right? So you moved him into open shade, and that gave more pleasing light. Now, in this state, it would work best to bring a reflector in to really emphasize the direction of the lighting and add more depth to his face. It would also allow you to get a little bit of catch light in his eyes, which could work really nice here. So working in open shade is always a really smart thing to do, and I'm glad to see that you did that here. But bringing in a reflector for that is going to be best. And then the last thing is just the narrative. So you have this kid, it's your cousin or nephew, and he wants his senior pictures taken. And I'm thrilled that you got the opportunity to provide this for him, to give him this shot that he wanted. Now, part of what we're looking for with senior pictures is that we're getting to know the person, that the person is showing part of their personality, whether that's maybe here's that he likes to be outdoors, but maybe he plays baseball, or maybe he plays the clarinet, or maybe he's in student government. Things like that would be important to bring into the narrative for your senior portrait. So I'd encourage you to push that a little bit. Also, you have him in this natural setting. It looks like there's a building behind him, but we have the tree. And that tree is a very like stiff, I don't know, like it's a solid element in the back of the frame. And then just having him standing straight also makes him look stiff. So having him interact with the background a little bit would bring more ease and movement to his body, which could really enhance this image. All right, this image is by Lauren, and you're at ISO 250, 62 millimeters, f2, really wide aperture at 1/2000th of a second. And with that wide aperture, we see that we're in a city setting, but we don't, like, the details of the background really fall out of focus, so we don't need to know that. The light that you're using is really soft light, and it's lighting that could start to be a little bit flat, but it really matches your image here. So it's softer light. It still has a little bit of depth to it as it falls off on the left side of the image a little bit here. But the softness matches the softness of what she's wearing in her body language and the softness of her hair. So I think that the light is pushing that edge of being a little bit flat, but it works in this case. And the narrative that you have this woman that looks very comfortable, and you said she's cheery, and that's coming across. Her personality is definitely coming through. Her comfort with you as the photographer is coming through. Her being in a city, that's part of the narrative here. And then her kind of pulling off her jacket is giving her a softer body language here that's working really well. Her feet being cropped off at the bottom kind of interrupt that a little bit for me. So you have this really comfortable, relaxed position, and then a crop that seems a little bit rough on the bottom. I might even pull it up a little bit, maybe just a little bit, so that we're just kind of seeing the bottoms here of her shins and not starting to see the shoes that are being cropped into. But great rapport with your subject here. She looks so comfortable. This is a great shot. I actually received it's Christmas time, so received a magazine in the mail, and it looked like just this sort of shot was on the cover of it. It was a Viore magazine. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand, but seemed like this could go on that. The light and the type of clothing and the style that they were selling. All right, and then this is Kris's image. You're at ISO 640, so a little bit on the higher side, 85 millimeters. f1.4, again, a really wide aperture at 1/125th of a second, so that's all looking good. The light that you're working with looks like it's more evening light. I know you do a lot of work in Photoshop, but let's see, yeah, more evening light coming across, warmer, illuminating part of his face. The other side's starting to fall off a little bit. We have nice catch light in his eyes, so the light's working really well here. The narrative of the senior portrait, you have him sitting on a bench, and I don't feel like that's giving us that narrative that we're looking for, right? So the idea of having someone like I talked about with Kris's image, Kassandra's image, someone that's playing a sport or playing an instrument, or they're playing chess, or whatever their interest is in high school, kind of needs to be emphasized in that senior portrait. We saw in Lauren's image that you had a little bit of that with the city in the background, and that alone, I think, starts to tell a little bit of a narrative. But here you've really blurred out the background with your aperture, and then you have your subject sitting on a bench. So while it's a nice portrait of this person, it's not pushing that narrative or telling us more about their personality in a way that you would expect from a senior portrait. So I think you can push that side of this a little bit more, and we've kind of been talking about that all semester with you, is pushing that concept of your images. And then this is Maelle's image, and you're at ISO 100, 42 millimeters, so a little bit on the wider side, f8 at 1/50th of a second. So here I would open up your aperture a little bit so you're not at such a slow shutter speed. Just opening it up to 5.6 would allow you to shoot it at 1/100th of a second. And then if you're zooming in and out, you don't have to worry about your you having any camera shake or anything. The light that we have coming on this side of the face is starting to be nice light, but then it falls off by the time we get to the subject's face, and the eyes are really dark here. So it seems that moving the direction that your subject's looking could allow us to really get that light on the subject's face in a stronger way. So you kind of played on the idea of a senior portrait when you're photographing actually a senior, but we still want to hold on to those elements where we want you showing us something about their personality. And here we can see a busy street below, but we're not, or a busy street around the subject, but we're not able to see enough information to really know what's going on. So that's not reflecting their personality. The mask, is something we're all dealing with right now, is just having to mask up to be safe. And the subject's clothing isn't telling us anything. So we're kind of getting pushed away from this subject because we're not able to see their eyes, and then we can't pick up on any clues about them from their surroundings. So in this case, I would encourage you to, again, push that narrative. Try to explain who this person is with an image. And if they're an older gentleman that's working in the city or living in the city, what are they doing that is of interest that you can share with the viewer?